So at some point, you decided to kind of actively attend church.
Yeah, a couple months before Tate and I met.
That was this year. That's 2018, right?
Last part of last year. So I
So
think
2017.
yeah. So after my May 2017 surgery, when I survived, I attended every week. After that point,
That kind of revitalized your faith, and you're like, I'm sticking with faith.
yeah, and I have some concerns with.
Still had some doubts.
Yeah, I do, but I have not found anything else out there in the Orthodox religion sphere that comes close to filling that void that I have.
You wanted to stay Mormon.
I wanted to stay Mormon.
A faithful, active Mormon.
Yep.
So starting in spring of 2017, you're attending church.
Yeah, and I never really stopped fully attending, but I was attending every Sunday.
Are you comfortable saying what ward and stake, or do you not want to say that?
At that time, I didn't want to be in any single ward, because I didn't want to be pulled in. I was afraid of having a bishop's interview. Not that I was sleeping around, but at that point, I wasn't going to hide that I was gay, right? And so
you're like doing everything you can to attend church, but not
get called,
not get busted,
right,
not get caught.
Right, and again, I wasn't sleeping around.
Yeah.
But still, I felt this, because we all know what I mean. Do we even know? It's still very sporadic, and that's been a frustration right now. We've had our bishop.
Well, don't get there. Let's do the story.
Okay.
So
I go to church.
You're going to church, trying not to get caught.
Yep.
No. Oh. In 2017.
Yeah, just going to church.
And so you
coming to Salt Lake almost every other weekend, trying to meet different members in affirmation. I met a guy who worked for the church. He's since come out as gay. Was married. Was doing North Star, and he had a North Star buddy. I think they were cuddling, and he kissed them. He kissed the guy, and he had this anguish. How dare he do that? This guilt, almost to the point of suicidal thoughts. And so I was learning about North Star. From the very get-go, I had this wall up about North Star, and the things I told you about, the guys that were Mormons and gays that were trying to hit on me. They would all go to North Star and get up and be like, "Oh, we're doing this. You can do it too. Hoorah!" But they weren't doing it.
And then privately,
they were hooking up with men. And so just basically living working very hard, being a good dad, taking care of myself and my kids, and going to church for all of 2017.
Okay, and so that's when you meet Tate.
Meet Tate. We start talking over Instagram. We had been Instagram friends for a while. I didn't know that he was. He didn't know that I was.
He was what? Oh,
gay.
Yeah. Okay.
And but just having a admiration for the things he was doing, and I think he was liking some of the things that I was doing on my Facebook. And one night we just we messaged each other, and he was going through some struggles. I was going through some. I was kind of getting to the point where, I don't know how long this celibacy thing's going to work. I'm really struggling with just trying to find my place. Working a lot, again, that's always been my thing.
And you're a DJ in
Idaho
Falls?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And also working at a retail store, and just working as much as I could to not allow myself to...
Avoidance, turning it off.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for me, it's easy. It was easier to be a dad, because then it's not about me anymore. It's about them, and would I be embarrassed if my kids were doing some of the things that I was doing? And then Tate and I said, let's meet. Let's meet. We met at Olive Garden. And we had a reservation, or we had a wait. So we were sitting out in my car and just talking about some of the struggles that I had had, some of the struggles that he had had. And I knew immediately that we were going to be great friends, immediately, from the first time I saw him. I could just tell a countenance about him, and I could also see the pain that he'd had. So we started talking, and then we started kind of dating a little bit, but he was the first example of my life where it was like, this is hard to control. This is hard to be to not go further. And it's very natural, just immediate love. We were both
Sounds
concerned.
like you felt all the things that you didn't feel with your wife.
Absolutely. immediately. Yeah. To talk about that piece of the puzzle, or like you have a tire that's unbalanced, right? And it's just causing so much chaos in the car, and it's shaking, and you're doing damage to the tire and to the car, and you put one little weight on, and suddenly it runs smoothly. I felt like my life was running. I felt close to God. I felt peace. And when you have a whole life of not feeling that, suddenly it's there. It's dramatic. It was dramatic for me. But I never wanted to push Tate in a direction that he didn't want to go. Like I said, I loved him from the very beginning, and I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to, like, let's say, hook up, and then he had been good and not done anything either. And so I didn't want to send him on a tailspin, because you've opened this door, right? And suddenly you're just hooking up with everybody. Not that he would do that, but I was very cautious, and I think he was very cautious with me of what we each needed. And, it's hard to explain. I think for both of us, it was just peace and normal. And I'm not going to tell Tate's story, but the thing that stands out from what he told me was he was told, so a year before he told his family that he was gay, and they wanted him to be celibate. And of course, Mormons, gays, you can be celibate, you can do it. That's what he was trying. So he was reading his scriptures. He was going to the temple. He was paying his tithing. He was doing his fast offerings. He was serving as a ward mission leader. This man has a level of the standard that is above most, but he felt empty inside. And you go, okay, am I not supposed to feel good? Am I not supposed to feel better by doing these things? Well, the church says you'll find peace and joy if you just stay celibate. But he wasn't. And so we kind of connected. And I remember talking very beginning that I wanted to be married. I wasn't going to sleep around, and, I wanted a commitment there. So before we ever got together, there was a commitment. We had a commitment to each other. He was worried about marriage. He didn't want to offend God. And I was open to not, because I loved him so much. But I think the thing that stands out for me during that courtship is just a mutual understanding that we wanted to protect each other, and we wanted each other to be at the same place. And over the next course of weeks and months, marriage seemed right. And we thought, we were going to church every Sunday. Together.
Now, is this in your home ward at this point?
Uh-huh.
Which ward? And now, do you want to say what ward or state?
That was in Pocatello.
Okay.
We were going, and we would get some looks, but it didn't matter to us. We were just, it was important that we were there. And I remember thinking, waiting for, hey, we're going to call you in, and hey, this is going to, but we thought that it makes sense. I mean, and now it's interesting, but the church, let me just say, for us, it made sense that if we were married, it should be lesser. We're committed. We're monogamous. We have a commitment to each other. We're not breaking the law of chastity, right? Because it's between legally and lawfully married. So we talked about that for several weeks. We got our families. We gave our families a few weeks to process that we were together, that that we were living a gay lifestyle, and we weren't going to be celibate anymore. And that's hard for your family. It was hard for our families. But we gave them time. We were around them. We showed them that not much was going to change. We wanted to go to church, and that we weren't going to stop that. And we got married in a very small ceremony. We didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. So a very small ceremony just by the river in Idaho Falls in May of this year. And it was incredible. And since then, it has been incredible. One thing I didn't say is before Tate and I got really serious, well, even before that, so my ex-wife got married, was starting to date. She got married a few weeks before we did, but was starting to date this guy, and it was pretty serious. And my son, my youngest son, who had no idea that I was gay at all, zero inclination, I mean, nothing. I mean, unless he could tell or, something. He's 6 years old. And he said, he goes, Daddy, when are you going to go on a date? And I said, I don't know, buddy. What do you think? Should I go on a date? He goes, yeah. I said, okay, well, I'll look at that. And he goes, are you going to go on a date with a boy or a girl? And this little perfect It didn't matter to him. He was just curious. So anyways, a few months later, Tate and I are really starting to become pretty attached. But it was important to me that the kids did not have this sudden change, right? And I had done some counseling in the midst of that and asked questions like, oh, when do you tell your kids? And how do you tell your kids? And the research that they had said is the earlier the better, probably before puberty. And so I just wanted to watch and my kids are very shy, very, very shy. I'm in radio, a lot of random people come up and the kids hate that. They don't, it's in their bubble. And so I was curious to see how they were going to react to Tate. And Tate, we got into the house. Tate was already in our house. I was taking my coat off. We just walked in the door, and we were walking around the corner. And both boys were on the couch just talking, just happy as can be with Tate. Like he's been a part of their life forever. I've never seen that before, and I've never seen it since. So for me, it was like, okay, there's some signs here that this is good. So we tell the kids probably a month and a half later. We just left my dad's house, and I was very nervous about that. They were it didn't even faze them. And we got married, and we hold hands around the Greenbelt in Idaho Falls. I was prepared. I'm a public figure. I have contracts that say, my behavior can't be offensive to the public. I was for sure thought that they would find a way to let me go. They've been nothing but loving and supportive and kind and generous.
You're now at a radio station in Idaho Falls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Friends, family. We made a video on Facebook that was like, hey, everybody, we understand this is all new, but we just want to rip off the Band-Aid and kind of let you all know. Huge outpouring of love, not a single bad message. And I had always pictured it being like, oh, we'd get this aggression or this hate, or it never happened. We've had one lady, we were walking around the Greenbelt, and this old lady on a bike called us disgusting. And we laughed. We say it's like she smelled her own breath or something, and I just try to blow it off. But literally, one person has given us anything but love.
So at what point did you guys start attending your current ward?
So we moved from Pocatello to Idaho Falls in April. And and this kind of shows how religious we still are. We were praying to find the right ward, to find the right bishop, to find the right stake president, because we had other examples of it not being excommunicated. And so we hoped. So
you were aware of other couples that were same-sex married.
Yeah. That were
attending church and were not being excommunicated.
Right.
We can't name them, right? Because that's inconsistent, and it's maddening.
I would rather.
No, I don't want to, but isn't it maddening that there's this roulette where?
Yeah, and I'll tell it. Yeah,
Go ahead.
Tell you about the stake president interview. Right now.
No, well, no.
Okay.
Well, so you start attending this ward because you've seen other gay couples who have been left alone by their bishops. Yep. In what states?
Utah.
In Utah and Idaho. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So you're thinking we're good.
We knew that there was still a chance. It's kind of like roulette. The roll of the dice. Hopefully you get a good enough bishop that understands. And
had you heard of others being excommunicated or not?
Yeah.
Was it rare or?
Yeah, I think it sounds like more. I think that's about the time you and I started talking, and you had kind of said, well, it seems to me like they're on a hiatus, like they're not really doing that. And so we kind of had this, and either way, it wouldn't have mattered. We weren't going to go and lie.
Yeah.
And I know a few weeks ago there was a letter that you posted, and people are, why are they even saying anything? Let me just share this. A few weeks before we even decided to go to find our new ward in Idaho Falls, we met with one of Tate's friends. Good man, young man, good heart, good head on his shoulders. And he goes, wait a second, you guys are planning on going to church? And we said, why not? What? I don't know. And I was like, what's the confusion? He goes, I won't do that. He goes, I just had sex 2 hours ago, but I'm not going to tell my bishop. And to me, it was like, wait a second. I believe that God exists. It doesn't matter what the bishop knows or doesn't know. What does God know? Right? I don't want to do this in the closet hiding thing. I want to be me. And so we go into church on Sunday with that idea. We're going to be us. We're not going to be like making out in the pews, but we're also not going to hide who we are, right? We're not going to show any more emotion to each other than a husband and wife should show in church. And we walk in, and things were great. Walk out, attend the whole block. We come home, everything's fine, waiting. Sure enough, a few days later, the door knocks. Bishop walks in with somebody else, and he goes, "Hey, we just coming in."
And what month was this?
This is in April, I think.
Okay.
I think
When you first moved in.
Either April or May.
Okay.
It was pretty quick.
All right.
And he sat in our living room, and I said, "Bishop, I'm going to be very open with you. Here's where we're at." I kind of told him the brief story, and he goes, "You taking the sacrament?" And I said, "We've decided that we should probably not." We weren't married at the time yet. And he goes, "Well, I don't see a reason why you shouldn't be taking the sacrament. That's important." And he goes, "Let me find out on that." I said, "Okay." He goes, "We're going to love you. You're welcome." And he left, and Tate and I just bawled. We held each other and just bawled. Like, maybe there's a change. Maybe we're not going to be angry. We're not going to be mad. We're not going to, come in and make it be uncomfortable. We just want to be us. And so we kind of celebrated a little bit. Told our families. I think that helped our families a little bit as well. And kept going to church. And I think the second or third time we went was stake conference, and we got a new stake president. The other stake president had been called to 70, and our stake president was new. And in the meantime, we'd had other people that came in. This is a cool story. Our very first Sunday there, we had a couple out of California that came in. And the very first Sunday, were talking about Prop 8 and how good it was and how the church stood its ground and defended traditional marriage. And we just sat in the background and just kind of looked at each other. And afterward, we thought, that was interesting. And it's too bad I don't think she really understands, or I don't think they really know much about what gay people are struggling with. And so we just kind of noted that. And a couple weeks after that, the husband of that couple started calling us Tate and Dusty, the rock band or something. He just really started befriending us. The elders quorum president, over loving us, telling us his examples of gay people that he knows who've struggled. This incredible amount of love, the ward. Members of every Sunday we'd go and somebody new would come up and be like, "Hey, we've heard about you. Hey, can we help you with anything? We love you." Like, just love, just great. The ward itself has been perfect. Absolutely perfect.
And what's the name of the ward?
Sage Lakes. Sage Lakes? Sage Lakes Ward in Idaho Falls.
Stake?
North Stake? Idaho Falls North Stake, I think.
Okay.
Temple District. It's the temple. It's the one right by the temple. And so we're thinking, okay, maybe this is going to change. President Basic, the new stake president, comes and meets with us. Texts us, "Hey, I need to meet with you guys. Can I come over right now?" So we're like, holding our breath, come over. We're again open, knowing that we're thinking that eventually it may lead to excommunication. But that's not going to change who we are, and what we want, right? And so he comes over, nothing but love. Nothing but love. So the bishop calls me one day and says, "Hey, I know that President Basic is asking the higher-ups what he should do. And they've been told to pause." And I said, "Why?" He goes, all I know is that the public affairs office is involved." Okay. And I think at that time we started hearing.
This is back then in May.
This is probably June.
June. Okay.
Yeah, probably June.
Okay.
And
pause what?
Pause our disciplinary council.
Okay.
That they were talking about it. Bishop told us that the stake president had been asking, and that first he said that he asked one, and then they asked pretty high up. I don't know how high up, but several layers up in the 70, and they said, "Yes, proceed." So he was getting ready to call us. And then he got a letter from the public affairs office saying, "Wait." So they start waiting. Where's was waiting? And then the bishop basically says, he even reads me the letter that says, and I don't mean for this, the bishop has been incredibly awesome. And he's expressed to us his frustration, because he's kind of been like, "What do we do? Hey, help us understand. Like, do we do we disciplinary? Do we not? Can we give these guys a calling? We love these guys. We want to give them a calling. Help us out. They haven't had any guidance. And so we find out that there's this letter that from the Public Affairs Office that basically says, hey, we're from Idaho. This guy that writes it, I'm from Idaho. I know the members there very well. We're going to leave this up to you, stake president. You decide what you want to do. And this is always, this is second and third, levels. I'm not hearing this firsthand from anybody, but the bishop had gotten the letter, I think, from the stake president, and he was reading us parts of the letter. So we think, okay, we're waiting, and then we think, well, the stake president came over and gave us nothing but love. He's been open, he's been kind and generous, and says we're always welcome. We think this is going to be okay. And then the stake president calls and says, we need to meet. And I didn't go to this meeting. Tate went to this meeting alone. I was at work or something. And the stake president basically told Tate that they needed to do a disciplinary council. And that there were three options: no action, disfellowshipped, or excommunicated. And I got the distinct feeling at that point that they wanted, that it would be better for us if we were separated. And then I got sick. I had some infection, a sinus infection, and the stake president was very kind, waiting. We didn't really hear anything. And then we finally were like, hey, president, when is this going to happen? Like, it is incredibly hard to not know your fate in the church. So watching Sam Young's thing and the agony of, well, this is going to happen, and I'm sure I'm going to be excommunicated. The weight of that is incredibly hard. It should not be prolonged, right? So we're having it, we're not. We're having it, we're not. Okay. So, 3 weeks ago?
Okay, so that goes on for several months.
Yeah, for about a month and a half, I was sick. We were on this pause, and then I was President Basic, hey, where are we at with? I think we saw him at church on Sunday. And he said, well, let me know. Give me a text. We'll meet in the next couple of weeks.
Because that's like, why pause? There's a policy, right?
You would think, and that's why the bishop was so frustrated. He's like, there's a policy. Why don't we just enact the policy? There's got to be whatever the handbook says. And he was expressing frustration to us because he didn't know what he was supposed to do.
Your bishop.
Yeah, and he had people in the ward council who were like, we want Dusty, we want Tate, we want to give them callings. And the bishop's like...
Because you were legally married.
Yeah.
And this was the test case that so many people were hoping for, that at least you'd just be left alone, you could serve in callings, you're showing up with your beautiful children, let them be in primary.
And on the ward level, it's been great.
So did you not have callings, either of you, this whole time? Okay, no waiting. Callings.
No. But I remember I got asked to say the prayer one time, and I was like, okay. And everybody was like, hey, you did great. There's been several times where I'm like, I really feel like I need to bring my testimony. Not like in the church, and they're going to shut me off and cut me down, but just expressing the things that I know and that I believe. But I felt uncomfortable doing so I haven't done it.
So you've never borne your testimony?
Not in the ward.
Never taught a lesson or anything like that?
No.
So silent members, but members, loved, members who were loved.
Yeah, I would say so. That member, the family that I told you about from California when I was in the hospital with my little infection, was there every Sunday. She came over. They wanted to hear all of our story. They love us. We're like they don't have kids. They don't have kids locally, and so they just have loved us so hard. They went from not understanding what gay is to praising Prop 8 to truly, on every level, loving us. We get text messages from them every day in the ward. She's the Relief Society president, surrounded by people who are really mean and nasty to her. Some in our wards, we can be mean to each other. We can judge each other really harshly. So last week, we go to this, probably 2 weeks ago now, President Basic says, let's meet on Tuesday at 8. So we show up.
2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. President Basic sits down. We sit down. He goes, hey, I just want to read something to you. He said, there are 3, and he's reading the handbook now. There are 3 areas where the church recommends a disciplinary council. And he lists all these off, like incest and
murder.
Oh, this is the last one. This is the first. So you might have a disciplinary council if you've done all these things. And one of them is had homosexual relationships. All right, might have a disciplinary council. And then he says at the bottom, here's where it says you have to have a disciplinary council.
And I'm just going to make clear, rape and incest is optional
Right.
for a disciplinary council.
Right.
Okay. And I think murder is also.
So murder is must.
Okay.
At least that's what he said. There was.
Okay.
I don't remember the four of them.
All right.
But
Well,
it was
rape
murder,
and incest.
It was
child
murder,
abuse.
Yeah.
Adultery.
Yep.
All optional.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And so I remember thinking, okay, so wait, if I'm having sex with lots of random people, you might have a disciplinary council. So I'm just listening. And he goes, here's where you must. Murder, I think rape or like a confirmed rape or something, and homosexual marriage.
And apostasy.
And that's it, apostasy. And suddenly this wave of like, wait a second. I'm in the category of murderers? That's where you put me? You must put me into that. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. And John, I can take this. I've had the blessing of having some experiences where my faith in God is strong. But there's a man that I love, that I know so deeply, who is so Christ-like, who is so good. He is not a bad person. And he should not be in the category of murderers. And I remember like it kind of sucked the breath out of my lungs. I remember like, whoa, ton of bricks. And he said, and I believed him. He said, you guys, I've gone back and forth on this. He said, I've often asked God, I'm not going to do this. And then he feels like, oh no, God wants him to do it.
Can I just pause you for just a second? I was pretty sure about this, so I'm going to read it. When a disciplinary council may be necessary. Serious transgression, it includes, but is not limited to, attempted murder, that's may, forcible rape, sexual abuse, spouse abuse, intentional serious physical injury of others, adultery, fornication, homosexual relations, especially sexual cohabitation, deliberate abandonment of family responsibilities. All those are like, maybe, if your spirit guides you, you rape a child, maybe, beat your wife, maybe, right? Attempt to murder somebody,
maybe.
We'll see, okay? When a disciplinary council is mandatory. Opposition to church leaders, teaching as church doctrine stuff that isn't church doctrine after being corrected by their bishop, okay? Following apostate sects, right? Like fundamentalist groups that advocate plural marriage after being corrected by their bishop, formally join another church, and being in a same-gender marriage. Sorry. Murder's in the previous category, along with rape and incest.
But you truly go, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
I'm a logical thinker. I'm not a big scholar. I've read the Book of Mormon several times. There's several scriptures that speak to me, but I just go, where do you have to be to believe that's fair? And I remember looking over at Tate, and I felt this emotion kind of building up in me, like, wait a second, you can do this to me, but it's a different level when you're doing it to somebody that I love and care about. And so he said he didn't feel like whether or not he should do it, he didn't know. And I said, then tell me this, why are there members in Salt Lake that aren't being excommunicated? He goes, I don't know. Okay. You don't know, but we're just going to still do this. We're still going forward with this. So he kind of told us how it's going to work. 6 people that will be there to support you, 6 people that will be there to defend the church, and they'll all meet together, and everything will be fine. So I left there thinking, okay, we're going to be okay. We've been prepared for this. It's not fair, it's not right, but this is where we're at. That was, I think, Tuesday, and then Sunday, we were with our family, and we got a text, hey, we need to deliver these letters to you. So Sunday night, we were home. Knock, knock, knock.
This is the Sunday...
This 2 Sundays ago? Yeah.
The Sunday before General Conference.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, a week before the Sunday of General Conference. A week from a week ago from yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get this letter, and I don't have it memorized, but I was bothered by the letter. Like, you've been reported to be acting in opposition of the church, you've been reported to acting in behavior that is unbecoming a member of the church. And I was like, wow, I remember telling Tate, that's a pretty cold, President basically was sure love, and I felt a lot of love from him, but this is pretty cold, pretty emotionless. But it was fine. Whatever. It is what it is. We're going to have this, fully expecting that we're probably going to be excommunicated.
Let me read the letter. The stake presidency is considering formal disciplinary action in your behalf, including the possibility of disfellowshipment or excommunication, because you are reported to have participated in conduct unbecoming a member of the church,
right.
Meaning legally, lawfully, monogamous, committed, same-sex love. You are invited to attend this disciplinary council to give your response, and if you wish, to provide witnesses and other evidence in your behalf. The disciplinary council will be held on Tuesday, October 2nd, prior to General Conference, at the time, at 8:30 p.m. at the stake office at the Stake Center in Idaho Falls.
Right.
Now, did Tate, was it for you and Tate?
We both got a letter.
You both got letters, okay.
And we were told we'd both be able to be there for each other. We wouldn't have to do it individually, which I was worried about, because I've always felt like their goal is to separate us. Obviously, if we can have sex with each other without being married, and that's a might, then they're going to want, and that isn't healthy. It's not healthy for anybody. And to try to separate somebody that has a companion and a family, and it's just, there's so many levels to that being wrong. Got the letter. That's fine. We went to bed. Monday morning, I wake up to a text from the stake president. Hey, Dusty.
Wait, something happened in between.
Yeah.
What happened in between?
Sent you the letter.
Sent me the letter.
Yeah, I was like, I think I did that because again, face-to-face with the stake president, Dusty, I love you. Dusty, you're welcome. You're welcome here. You will not be left alone. You are wanted. You are loved. I'm sorry that we have to do this. Who knows what the outcome will be, but we're doing it. And all the while still, but even deeper than this, these men, I'm in media. I hear about these suicides all over the place. And we've been trying to figure out what do we do? How can we stop this? So I send you the letter, and I didn't even know that. By the time that I got the text, I didn't even know that you had posted it. But I got a text from him that said... So
you shared it with me.
Right.
I shared it around 6:30 that morning.
Right.
Right?
Right. And by 9...
And I blanked out anyone's name.
Right. Or even location or anything.
Location.
Yeah.
I just said this has happened to protect, because I wanted to make sure and protect any confidentiality. My point was just to say, whoa.
Right.
This is right before General Conference. Right. And honestly, I was hoping to try and stop it. Mm-hmm. So I reached out to one person that I know who's connected to people super high up.
Right.
And I just said, I thought these things weren't being enforced. And this person said to me, that's what I thought. That was my understanding. Let me make a phone call or two. And this person asked the general location. So
right.
That's all I know. Right. And then at 9
o'clock, right? Right after 9.
Kind of fast, right?
Hey, Dusty. It said, hey, Dusty, I'm sorry to do this to you, but we need to postpone this council. And I came back with like, are you kidding me again? Now, at this point, we'd already gone to our families. Our family's fasting for us. This affects more than just Tate and I. It affects my children. It affects his family. It affects so much. I said, are you serious? Why? And he said, I don't want to say.
Misquote him?
Yeah. He said, actually, I just got a text from him. He said, I said, can you give me a reason why? We appreciate the text, but this is incredibly heavy on us and our family. He said, I'm sure it is, Dusty, and I'm very sorry. I received direction to wait until after conference. That is all the information I have. I said, thank you.
Almost like a PR. Like I was thinking, whoa, maybe he didn't get the memo. Maybe he didn't know that these things were being postponed.
Right.
or not enforced, or maybe there'll be some awesome announcement at General Conference. You were hoping for that.
Oh, yeah.
You were texting me. You're saying, John, do you think this will, what were you saying to me?
I was hoping that. I mean,
what were you hoping?
I was just that maybe if anything, again, I've had in-laws that have been like, well, what do you expect them to allow you to be married in the temple? No, that's not, I don't need that. I'm not expecting that. I'm demanding that. I'm hoping that eventually we're not going to be at this place where you cannot do this, and if you do, you're going to hell. That's all I'm hoping. That's what I was hoping for. It's just some understanding. Hey, we as the brethren of the church have access, and we have people looking at statistics. Deseret News the other day, the suicide rate is going up. It shouldn't be going up because it's 2 times the national average, as is. Idaho, day after day. Last week, 3 young men between 13 and 18 years old committed suicide in Rexburg. And 2 of them, all but sure that they struggle with LGBT issues. They know this. So at what point are we going to go, we don't know. I'm fine with them even saying the Lord hasn't given us direction yet. But to be taking 2 people that just, we're not hating. We want to be members of the church. I sustain the prophet. I want to sustain him. I want to go to church. And I know there are people on the letter that you posted were like, this is ridiculous. They shouldn't even go. I get that there are people that have those opinions, and I respect them for having them. That's what we want. And regardless of the outcome, we will still continue to go. For one reason, well, for a few reasons, but we're not, and Dan Reynolds said this on his Ellen interview, and he said this at Love Loud, which I loved. I was there. It was an incredible day. But he said, we do not change hearts from the outside throwing bricks. And what an example to me our ward has been. All they have are, the examples that they have are the church telling them it's bad. They've never seen a real life couple just trying to make it work. And so we hoped that there would be something, somewhere, to give us some change. But I just got a text from him saying he wants to work at October 16th at 8:30. So we're back on now. Nothing happened at conference. He's been given direction to continue, and here we are.
So 8 days from today will be a disciplinary council for you and Tate.
Yeah.
You were going to say why you want to keep attending.
Why I want to?
Yeah.
That example of what Dan said, I believe that. The only way to affect change is to do it from the inside. But
so it's just to change the church?
No, because at this point, I don't think they're ever going to change. The church itself, the foundation of the church, I don't know if they're ever going to change. I have to give up hope on that. I have to stop hoping that that's going to happen, because all it's doing is it's playing with me. It's playing with my emotions, and I don't want to. I can't continue to put myself on hold. It's because we talked about that unbalance. I feel the most at balance when I'm still going to church. And this is the main reason for this interview, John. I don't want to be here publicly talking about my sex life. I don't feel like I shouldn't have to be. I don't want to be here talking about President this or that or whatever. I just want to live my life. But I have, and I don't understand how Elder Oaks can get up and have a conference talk that he shared on Saturday and not care when you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids committing suicide every year because of this issue. One, you go back to the very basic principles of the gospel. This is the time to prepare to meet God. Right? That's what we're told. What about these young men and these young women? What about them? It keeps me up at night. It keeps me up. What if it was my son? It could be. They don't deserve to be treated like this. I don't deserve to be treated like this. I can handle that. The man that I married, the man that I love, the man that I'm monogamous to, that I love, that I cherish, that I respect, he doesn't deserve to be treated like this. 13-year-old in Rexburg last week who hung himself. 13 years old. It's not fair. It's not right. Well, life's not fair. You're right, it's not. Go back. I'm an apple. You're supposed to be an orange. Okay, then tell me how I become an orange. You tell me. And Tate and I are both been in the same situation. If you can show me how it's supposed to work, how I'm going to be balanced and happy and fulfilled outside of this apostate gay marriage, then okay. Then we can have a discussion, but they don't. Celibacy does not work. Josh Weed, throwing him name, he probably doesn't want it. I mean, it didn't work. Mixed orientation marriage did not work. It hasn't worked for many. There's a few people that seems like it's working. Good for them. That makes me happy for them. It's not working as a major model for the young people in our church.
Our data show it. They fail 70% of the time, and for those who make it work, they're bisexual. They're not homosexual.
Oh, right.
And that when they work meaning they white knuckle it and grin and bear it for many, maybe not all, but for many. And it often means very low quality of life.
And that just is that the point of life? Is
high depression, low quality of life, high distress, just not healthy, happy relationships. For many, there may be exceptions,
right.
But it's on a bell curve, and those are very rare.
And that should be what we're sharing. These 13-year-old men, they're hearing an apostle that they sustain and believe in say what they're saying. I mean, the quote that stands out to me, there were several during that talk. I was listening on Saturday. Our disciplinary council has been put on hold, so we're like, well, maybe something's going to come. Right off the gate, Elder Oaks comes up, and it's just, how do you even find any good in that? And usually there's like, hey, you can't do this, but we love you. I didn't even get that in that talk. It was, shame on you for trying to change the church. Change yourself. Again, you can't change yourself. You cannot do it. I have done everything that I could possibly do, and I have hurt people along the way. The mother of my children I love. I care about her, and I've hurt her. That's not fair. That's not her fault. It's not my fault. I should have known better. It's not, maybe there's like a couple hundred men throughout the church that are struggling with this. No, it is much deeper than that.
It's 5%.
Oh, if not more.
Of men and women.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. And I the stories that I hear are many, many, many men who are married, staying married, who are on this cycle of, okay, I can do it. Just got to be faithful, got to be strong. Oh, shoot, I messed up. I got on Craigslist, I hooked up. I go to my bishop. Oh, okay, we're going to repent. We're going to come back around. And I loved Josh Searle, who was on Mormons and Gays. Finally, he has a blog. And he's somebody that I looked up to, farming guy with me and Shelly. And he finally said he noticed that he wasn't happy, that his emotional wealth, his spiritual health was stronger because he was going to church and he was being celibate, but his emotional health was failing, and his whole family knew it. And he started dating this guy, same thing, monogamously, trying to make it work, talking about marriage, and his family suddenly goes, "What's up? You're happy, dude. You're normal. You're balanced. What's going on? Are you dating somebody?" He goes, "Well, actually, I am." Now, here's another example. He was on Mormons and Gays. He decides that he needs to be with a guy, right? Finds somebody, gets engaged. He comes up to the church and says, "Hey, I want to do this right. Get me off Mormons and Gays. Get me off that. That's not working for me." Nothing but love. He got nothing but love from the guy that he went to, which was his mission president. And I think his was, just take God with you. That was the guidance he was given by the church. Just take God with you. But we, going to church, paying our tithing, well, we stopped paying a few months ago, but paying our tithing for years and years, up until just recently, we're bad enough. We're amongst murderers and apostates. Just like you talked about Sam Smith. He's just concerned about an issue.
Sam Young,
yeah. Sam Smith, Sam Young. Sam Smith's the artist, the music guy. We are so afraid of people speaking up that we're going to banish them and condemn them to hell. It doesn't add up to me spiritually. It doesn't add up to me emotionally. It doesn't add up to me logically.
And I've just been waiting, the church comes out with Mormons and gays, and it does all these videos of these families. I'm celibate and I'm making it work. I'm in a mixed orientation marriage and I'm making it work. If you look at the history of Mormonism and the history of evangelical Christianity and Judaism and all the Christian religious traditions, the church in every generation will put forward these role models where they're not living it at the time they're put forward as role models, or very soon thereafter they aren't able to continue living it. Right. And the church never actually says, those people that inspired you to go ahead and live that celibate life, those people that through our polished multimedia inspired you to get into a mixed orientation marriage, well, they're now divorced, or they're now with in a same-sex relationship. They never bother to tell you that those slick media ads that convince people to follow this path, they never tell them, or about the carnage of the mixed orientation marriages that fail. They don't ever follow up and say, warning, this is super dangerous, this is super risky, it's harmful, people get hurt. They just keep coming up with new generations of role models, new North Stars, new poster children for LDS living.
Not caring that it's not working.
With no accountability for the carnage and the collateral damage that's left in the wake. And now we have it here, that the role models on Mormons and gays, I don't even know what they're going to do with the website, because they can't use the word Mormon anymore. So they're going to have to come up with a new Latter-day Saints and gays or something.
Right.
But they'll come up with new videos there, and it'll be the same story over and over again.
It makes me as a member, I'm still a member of the church. Me as a member of the church, it makes me go, when did it become more about the next cool, fancy PR campaign instead of just doing the right thing because it's what Jesus would do? Isn't that aren't we all Christian? Aren't we all just trying to be a little more like Christ? Telling me this is what Christ, if Christ walked into this room today, you telling me he would use the words that Dallin these jokes shared? No, he would not. I guess for me, that's all that matters. That's all that I can control. And I don't want people, I want people to see that it can work, that they can get that balance where they can still be spiritual, they can still believe in God, they can find a balance that works for them, and they don't have to go out and, lose all of the things that they hold dear. They don't have to leave their families. Their families don't have to leave them. It's time. It's not worked for decades. It's time to look at it and go, maybe we're wrong here. Maybe we should take a different approach. That's all I'm saying.
And what seems really ironic, because I don't have evidence that the church is like sending out spies to track down same-sex married couples who have left the church. So it seems like you're being punished, like you said, for being faithful.
Right.
Like the people the same-sex couples that stay faithful are the ones that are most punished. You think you would be, like you said, you're most faithful, still believing, not apostate, still attending, monogamous, paying your tithing, monogamous, legally married. That's worse in the church's eyes.
And sleeping around,
if you
sleeping
were
with married people, cheating on your wife, leaving your wife home alone and your kids home alone while you're running across town to sleep with some other married man.
It makes no sense.
It makes absolutely no sense. And sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy. Like, why am I the only one that, I know I'm not, but why aren't they seeing this? I don't know.
So what do you say to the listeners that are like, hello, McFly, Dusty,
Get out.
The church is not safe for LGBT people. What are you doing? Get out. What? Look into the camera. Tell them why you're doing this.
I think it's weird to look at the camera, but
you look at me.
I think that you just use the example of we have all these campaigns of things that aren't working, and the church isn't changing. So I love what Dan Reynolds said. He said, "I don't want you to just mistake my passion for anger." Because he's not angry. It's just time to make a change. So I have a choice. I can be angry and mad and leave the church and be frustrated and go out and tell the whole world that they're not true and they're not right and this, that, or whatever, right? That's what we've done. We've been angry. I loved also what Tyler said. He was angry, and he's not now. And I noticed that even before when he was on stage. He's not angry anymore. Who does it benefit for me to be angry? Is it going to make the church change? No, it's not. There have been many angry before me, and there will be many angry after me. So all I can do is, like I said, I'm losing sleep over these young men who are committing suicide. All I can do is control what I can control and change one heart at a time. And I know there's a ward, an incredible little ward in East Idaho, who has loved us, embraced us, wanted us, welcomed us, and who wants us to be a part of their lives. I'm sure there's a few of them that maybe feel uncomfortable. I don't know if that's the whole ward, but the feelings that we have walked away with is that. And that has happened because we were brave enough to go in, show our true colors, stop hiding, stop pretending to be straight and normal. I understand why people do it. I truly do. I did it for a lot of years. But that does not help them. It doesn't help the church. It doesn't help the church progress. It doesn't help the members progress. Clearly, it's not. So this is the only thing that I can control. And going back to, I was lucky enough to have some experiences where I truly believe that God knows me, that he loves me, that he loves me. A married, gay man, he loves me. He welcomes me. He embraces me. He wants me to be there. And so I'm grateful for those experiences. I had a friend, just Friday, there was a friend of mine who slipped and fell on a bowling alley, and she tore some, I guess, ligaments in her neck, and she got spinal meningitis and died. I had that twice. Why did I survive? I don't know. I don't know that. I question that every single day. It's not about me. It's about trying with all I can to help that 13-year-old young man. I don't know how I get to him. I don't know how I help him to see that there are two easygoing, normal, I hate saying that word, guys who have our home looks just like any other home. Our conversations look like any other conversation. Our kids are being raised just like any other kid. We're making it work. We have peace. We have completion. We have balance. And other people can have that too. It's never been a choice, which I think makes me even more angry that the church is now saying, get out. And they're not saying get out. They're saying, hey, we love you, you're welcome, but we're going to punish you for it. Or we might punish you for it. And let me say this. If we're just having this disciplinary council to have no action or disfellowship, what's the point? To scare us? There's no other point to do it other than to make us go, oh, we better stop. We better get divorced because the church has said we can't do this. But I ask this to the church. Do you think that we're stupid enough to not have dotted all our T's and to have done the research and to known? Because I've done that. I've met thousands of gay men, affirmation and all over. Facebook, there's secret Facebook messages out there with hundreds of men who are just trying to do their best. They're trying to balance what they think the church needs them to do and to put that into the box of who they are. And they're struggling. And they're contemplating suicide every single day. And so this is the only thing that I can control. We will most likely be excommunicated next week. That's frustrating. But it is what it is. And we're going to continue to do what we do.
I've had this theory for a while. Others share it, that there's nothing more dangerous to the church than having these loving, committed, monogamous, same-sex couples show up, sometimes with children, and just be lovely ward members, singing in the choir, serving in the callings, praying, showing faithfulness and humility and love and kindness and creativity and passion and intelligence. Because then the members start thinking, well, what's wrong with this? Yeah. Why is this bad? And fall in love with their kids and fall in love with them. And from maybe a dark point of view, they're worried that empathy and compassion for people like you will spread. And they can't.
That is dark. It's really hard to even compute that.
They can't have the membership becoming empathetic and supportive of your very normal lifestyle.
But right? I don't think they can control that, because the people that I talk to, they're going, why are we having so many suicides? I mean, I work with a couple of church members, pretty active, and we were having this conversation the other day. They know I'm gay, but they were like, man, so many suicides. Do you hear about this 13-year-old kid? And I think the bulk of the membership is starting to go, what are we going to do? And for me, and I wasn't planning on sharing this, but for me, I go, I've always believed that the church is true and that President Nelson can get on his knees and he can receive revelation. And so here's a problem that is facing a large majority of its membership, if not directly, but families and friends and everyone else, right? This is a problem. What does the Lord want to do about it? The Lord hasn't said, oh, just tell them to, be celibate. Because that's what I love everyone else more than these men that have chosen this. And so they get to watch their families and their friends have kids, and they just get to be alone their whole lives, if they even make it to adulthood, because they might take their own lives. That's not what the Lord is saying. So then I start to go, and it's actually having a reverse effect on me. So what revelation are we getting? Because we don't have an answer. They don't have an answer. Clearly, 3 times, hey, we're going to hold. No, we're going to have it. We're going to hold. No, we're going to do the excommunication. No, we're not.
It almost seems like they're trying to manage the public relations effects of this action.
Yeah, that's the only way I can look at it. They had some changes coming up this weekend, and they didn't want my story getting out. They saw you post my letter, and they thought, we got to wait. We got to wait.
We don't want to spoil conference.
Right.
Let's do the deed
and
after
to that
conference.
I say, how dare you play with my life? How dare you play with our lives and our families and our relationship with God so you can not spoil your conference? And truly, John, I would not be here. I would not be vocal about this if I didn't have to be. I don't want to be here as any opposition of any church or any member of the 12 or any of that. I just want to live my life, and I want to go to sleep at night knowing that there isn't a 13-year-old out there who struggles with same-gender attraction or transgender or any of that and wonders and contemplates suicide as their only hope. I mean, to think about that, to think about there are men, this last weekend, the spike in suicide, it's sickening. It's sickening to me. And I'm shocked that more people they sleep fine at night. Who cares? No, they matter. Their lives matter. One of them, every single one of their lives mattered. To their family, to their friends, to God, they mattered. And God doesn't give us a trial just so we can come down and commit suicide. And one last thing. My wife, I remember when I was talking to my wife and I stayed pretty good friends. And just last year, we went on a spring break thing with the boys. Before Tate and I were married or even dating. And before she was even dating. We're just, good friends, co-parenting. And one night we were in the hotel room. We were sleeping in separate beds and whatnot. But she goes, well, it's like a cookie. I was like, what? She goes, if I want a cookie, I can't just go to the kitchen and have a cookie every night. I'd be fat. And I was like, wait a second. You're comparing being gay to eating a cookie? It's not like I want a Mountain Dew or I'm addicted to Mountain Dew. It's not like I, have addiction to this, that, or whatever. It's way beyond that. It is a part of who I am, to the very depths of my soul. God doesn't create mistakes. He doesn't have mistakes. There's no mistakes. God's perfect. He doesn't do that. But we're mistakes, right? Because there's nothing that we can do or say, or we can't change our trajectory for happiness. We're just supposed to sit here in this state of unhappiness and dwell. And,
They say it's your cross to bear. That's what they would say. It's your cross to bear. Some people, this is what they would say.
Oh, yeah.
Some people have proclivities to alcoholism. Some people have diabetes. Some people, have bad things happen to them in their lives. Some people never get married.
Right.
It's just your cross to bear, like all those other people that have things not work out so well.
To them, I say, why does this feel so normal then? Why does this correct every wrong that I've ever had in my life? Not every wrong, but most. Why can I walk out of this interview, hold hands with my husband, drive home, feeling completely confident? Why does the Spirit that talks to me tell me that I'm doing what's right? That would be my question to them. I've heard that. But there's an alternative. Somebody who can't walk. They can't choose to find somebody and then fix everything, right? That's heartbreaking, and I'm sympathetic to that. But this is beyond that. I can choose to be with this man, to love him. He can choose to be with me, and both of our lives and the lives of our children will be better because of it. There's nothing bad, dirty, wrong, or none of that. It's all good. But God says, then why did he make me this way? You know? So I'm grateful for that peace that I have. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what anybody says or does or pushes or, well, I had somebody say the other day, what if at the disciplinary council, they say, well, you'll be a member if you just get divorced. There's no way in heck. I want to live a miserable life. And not only that, I want to watch somebody that I love live in a life when you're just alone. You're watching all your siblings have joys and happinesses and children, and you're just supposed to, I go back to the 80-year-old celibate man that walked in.
Who's angry.
And
empty.
And that's the way you're going to meet God? No. I'm going to meet God fulfilled, strong, in love, and proud. And that takes, that for me to be able to say that is something.
And when the church does something like excommunicate a faithful couple that is attending and wanting for that 13-year-old kid, it's basically saying there's no hope for you.
There's no hope. Your choice is either to lie about it, sleep around and lie about it, get married and lie about it, break hearts among the way.
Wreck families, wreck kids.
Never,
or never know love.
Right. Never know love, just lust. Just getting weak one day and getting on Craigslist or whatever app and hooking up with somebody, right? And then feeling bad about it and then eventually committing suicide because of that.
Or abandoning their faith.
Right. And many do.
But that's
why
precious.
Wouldn't you? Oh, yeah.
But that's precious, so that's a problem too.
Yeah.
And that's what they feel like they're between several rocks and several hard places.
And for people who aren't, I have learned to appreciate pride and the flag, all of that. I've learned to appreciate that. But being gay is such a small part of who I am. I'm first a dad. I'm first a son of God. I'm first a somebody who can contribute to this world, and I work hard and I do good for other people. That's what I am. That's what defines me. Being gay is just a part of that, right? And I understand why people go to that extreme because they feel like they have to. They're pushed in this box their whole lives, and then they suddenly come out and they just have to, I understand it completely. I just have never resonated with that. It's not something that because I don't want it to be a defining factor of who I am.
Yeah.
But I'm at a place now where I don't care. We hold hands. We are who we are wherever we are. And that's incredibly beautiful. But when you look at that, for me as a kid, it was like, well, I'm not flaming. I'm not flamboyant. And, the gay people that I knew were just a little weird. That was my 8-year-old brain. And I didn't want to be that. You don't have to be gay doesn't mean you are that. And there are many, 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 many thousands of men who are just normal. You would never be able to tell unless they said something.
And all of them are beautiful.
All of them are beautiful. Every color, every shape, every size.
Male, female,
all of it.
Gender non-binary.
All of it. And Love Loud for me too, truly was incredible. It was incredible to see, I will remember that for the rest of my life.
So to close, you're going to have potentially disciplinary council in 8 days, potentially September 16th in Idaho Falls. There's a tradition where sometimes people who care want to just show up and show support. Do you and or Tate have feelings about wanting people to show up? You haven't probably even had time to process or think about that. Don't feel like you need to answer if you don't want to answer yet. I know there are people that would show up on your behalf to show support in the parking lot of the church on that day.
I wouldn't I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think the portion of me that existed that wanted to just do what made them more comfortable is gone, because they haven't cared about me and what's more comfortable for me. So it's interesting to think about. Would that make them more likely to excommunicate? Does this interview make them more likely to excommunicate? It shouldn't. It should be either you excommunicate or you don't. I don't know. I have to stop worrying about all of that. I have to just say, for me personally, the suicide rate, the heartbrokenness, and the talk on Saturday, it pushed me over the edge. It's
Oaks' talk.
Yeah, and then I contemplated it. Me as a grown adult, as a father, had some weird emotions about it, and then, I go onto Facebook, and suddenly Saturday night, more suicides than they'd had in a while. Those are real people, every one of them. So I'm beyond caring what would make them more comfortable.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's contact media. Let's pull out all the stops. Let's contact the media. Mark September 16th, probably the evening in Idaho Falls for anyone who wants to travel. We'll update you through the Mormon Stories Podcast Facebook page and through my personal wall on Facebook, and maybe through the mormonstories.org page. We'll help organize a vigil, and we'll get a few dozen, if not more, people there, maybe even 100 or two, to show up and show support. How's that?
And I wanted to make sure it's not just support for me and for us. It's for anyone out there who's silently struggling. We're lucky to be in the place that we are. The support is nice, but there are people out there who need to see it. That's what I care about.
Anything else you want to say before we end?
Thanks for the time, John. I'm good.
All right. Well, this concludes our interview with Dusty Johns. And we are so thankful for all of you who stuck with us on Facebook Live. A lot of great comments calling you out for your courage and integrity. I encourage you to go back and read. We probably had a couple hundred comments. Please share this, listeners, on your Facebook walls. Please share it on Instagram, on social media, on Twitter. Please email it to friends and family. Please share it in groups. I want to see this interview shared a few hundred times if possible. Let's get people out. Let's let people know. Let's get the word out that this is happening because it doesn't make sense. It feels wrong. It feels like it's not Christ-like. And most importantly, it's contributing to this epidemic of suicide. We know that suicides in Utah are twice of youth. Youth suicides in Utah are twice the national average. They've quadrupled since 2007.
Yeah, they keep going up.
And they keep going up. The Deseret News did an article on this, admitting this on Saturday, and yet they never mentioned LGBT issues once in the article, and instead mentioned altitude, which, for those who aren't aware, has not quadrupled in Utah since 2007. We don't have an altitude quadrupling problem.
Right.
And Denver has a higher altitude than us, and they don't have the suicide problem. It's not altitude.
No.
And we can't say it's only LGBT stuff, but
significant.
It's clearly a factor. So the church has policies that are literally causing people to kill themselves, and we have to stop it. So please don't be complacent. Please don't sit on your hands. Please don't sit in the luxury of your own privilege, your straightness, your comfort, your belief. Please spread the word. Please share this. Please tell everyone. Call every journalist you know. Tell them how outrageous this is. And let's get a bunch of people showing up at your disciplinary council. And let's see if we can stop the craziness.
Yeah.
Thank you for your courage.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for your integrity. Thanks to Tate, who's not on screen, but I know he's every bit by your side.
Yes.
And you guys are going to help people, and you're going to bless people's lives. Bless you for your courage and your openness and your integrity and your love. This is an act of love.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's seen that way.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us today on Mormon Stories. Check us out at mormonstories.org. Email us at mormonstories@gmail.com. We love you guys. Big thanks to Cody Layton for producing and making this possible last minute, as he always does, for the Open Stories Foundation board that makes all this possible, especially for donors that pay for everything that's going on. We'll do this for as long as you support us, so support us if you can. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys again soon on Mormon Stories Podcast.
Bye.
Thanks, Dusty.
Thank you.